Spoiler alert, 15 short minutes from now, you're going to know the final score of every NFL Week 7 game, plus the best player props. So you have a decision to make. Do you want to know that information? I'm going to give you 2 seconds to decide. 2, 1. Fine. Now you just can't leave. Quick look in the rearview mirror. The fellas are ready to roll into Week 7 here. Dameshek last week, 6 over, soaring now 17 over on the season. Kevin Hench, 4 under last week. Ooh, he's in the red now, 1 under 6 weeks through. Eddie Spaghetti, 4 over. Look at him, closer and closer to 500. And Brady Lemieux, the personification of our aggregated picks, broke even last week. He's 11 over on the season. Much to do. If I'm curt with you, it's because time is a factor. I think fast, I talk fast, and I need you guys to act fast if we're going to get through this. All right, on to Week 7, on to Arrowhead. Mahomes, Herbert, Swift, that crazy Chargers lady, all of it's coming together here in the land of the Swifties. The big football issue is Brandon Staley in desperate need of a win, but at this point, it might be a matter of when, not if, Jim Harbaugh trades in that MCAP for a lightning bolt. Good news is the Chargers have consistently given the Chiefs a tough game in KC in this little mini era we're in. And when it comes to covering at home, the Chiefs haven't been world champs the last couple of years. It would be neat if we could have Taylor and that Charger. Maybe they could do a pregame fight right there at the 50, something like that. Maybe that Flash Gordon versus Prince Baron whip fight that we saw in Flash. I don't know. Anyway, point is, I say that the Chiefs are going to win this one, but they are not going to cover. Par for the course there. Hench, how say you?
There's no team that I've lost more money betting on in this era than the Chargers, and there's no team I've lost as much money betting against than the Chiefs. So I'm on the Chargers in this one. They always play them tough. Good Lord, I cannot learn. But
what are we doing, Hench? What are we doing? We have to do it.
I like the Chargers to keep it close again at Arrowhead. Chiefs win it 27-24.
Spaghetti.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going 33-30. KC wins, but the Chargers cover here, and I'll just throw out more stats. We're talking about
3-car garage. When you hear that toot, 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 means we're all betting it on the same side.
Mahomes is 7-2 in his career versus the Chargers. This stat, though, is insane. Talk about close games, and Herbert's in a lot of close games. 55 games in his career, 39 are one-score games, which is an absurdly high amount. But the Chargers are 18-21 in those one-score games. We just saw it happen last week. So he does not win those close games. He doesn't have the clutch gene, so to speak. So the problem I'm going with, just to further poop on Herbert here, to throw an interception, it's plus 112. He's thrown 13 interceptions in the fourth quarter of one-score games since 2020. That is the highest mark in the NFL. He just finds a way to crumble at the end. I'm sorry, Chargers fans, and the lady in the stands we saw in the game, and I'm sorry, Justin Herbert, but going Chiefs here and going to Herbert interception.
Brady Lemieux agrees with us. Chiefs win, but don't cover. And next, the Sunday night dandy Florida men, led by their vaping wiseacre of a head coach, heading up to play in the city of brotherly love. Hey, Nick Sirianni, is this a must-win game? Coach, is this a must-win game?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not a must-win situation, but it's a big one nevertheless, and it includes some history. Consider when Tua and Hurts step out onto the gridiron in their number 1 jerseys. It'll be the greatest matchup of 2 QBs, both wearing the number 1 in the history of people. Sorry, Kyler and Cam a few years ago. Anywho, this one ought to be a shootout, and I'm sticking with my Fins here. I say Miami gets it 33-30. Hench, how say you?
Man, we might only need one garage for the whole show. The Eagles have just been letting teams hang around, and then it bit them in the against the Jets when Jalen Hurts, by the way, Mac Jones, that's his signature throw. The floater into coverage off the back foot. That's Mac Jones's throw, man. Come on, don't steal Mac Jones's throw. Jalen Hurts with the worst combination of execution and decision-making, and because they let the Jets hang around, it actually cost them the game. Well, the Dolphins don't just hang around. I mean, the Dolphins have the pedal to the metal, so I don't see the way the Eagles are playing anyway that they're going to come off the field with a victory. I like the Dolphins 33-27.
Spaghetti.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going Dolphins 31-27 here. More of what, Hench was saying, like the Eagles have been sloppy. A lot of games are close. I did pick the Jets last week. I had a feeling they were going to cover it, and they won in that game outright. Hurts is not playing where you want to, turning over an insane clip. Whereas you look at the Herbert versus Tua arguments right now, I think the Dolphins are happy. They were getting slammed for not taking Herbert. They have Tua. Mike McDaniel comes in. Their offense is they're firing on all cylinders. So much motion, so much going on, but they look so smooth. And they have two guys who scored an incredible amount of touchdowns. That's Tyreek Hill and Raheem Mostert. First time ever in the history of this pregame show, I'm giving out a two-leg same-game parlay. Raheem Mostert, Tyreek Hill to score. It's plus 333. 9 touchdowns from Mostert, nuts, and 6 for Tyreek Hill. It's a lot of touchdowns. They're both going to score in this game, in a high-scoring game, in my opinion. So put those together, you'll win a boatload of money.
Boy, Spaghetti's talking fast. He gets the drill here. Brady Lemieux agrees. Dolphins win outright. Next, Lions in Charm City. Last time these two teams played, Justin Tucker set the record for longest field goal in the history of people. I think it was something like 88 yards or thereabouts, something like that. It was ridiculous. Where would this Ravens team be without Justin Tucker? Even with them, I've got the Lions here taking care of business. A lot of talk. Best team in the NFC. I don't know about that, but they do get this one. 24-23. Hench, how say you?
Okay, finally, we need another garage. Whenever you're picking the Ravens, you're just basically saying, is the Ravens team that catches the ball going to show up, or is the Ravens team that drops the ball going to show up? So I think this week the Ravens catch the ball. The Lions obviously very strong in all phases. I think it's a one-score game, but I like the Ravens to cover 27-20.
Spaghetti.
I'm going 26-20 Detroit here over Baltimore. I just feel like Baltimore has really been tested by a high-powered offense, so to speak. Yes, they did play the Bengals, but obviously Joe Burrow at that point was dealing with this calf injury. And I just feel like this Detroit Lions team, even with their running back injuries right now, they're still looking great in the passing game. Jared Goff's been awesome right now. Him and Ben Johnson working magic together. So speaking of that, I do like the Jared Goff over 1.5 touchdown passes. It's minus 103, kind of creeping into the MVP conversation. Like I said, a lot of running back injuries to them right now. I know Gibbs is banged up. Montgomery's probably out. So I think they're going to rely on Jared Goff to make plays here. Plenty of weapons for him. And I like the Jared Goff over, and I like Detroit to win.
It seems less and less insane every week when I said back in the spring, Jared Goff's going to have a better season than Lamar Jackson.
Ooh, prescient stuff back in springtime there. Brady Lemieux sees it as a tie. Ergo, Brady Lemieux says bet the Lions. Next, Steelers visiting the Rams, just as they did for Super Bowl 14, on their way to that 4th Lombardi title. And they also paid a visit to Southern California for the Super Bowl. In the movie Heaven Can Wait, that's the one where Warren Beatty plays a dead guy who jumps into another guy's body to beat the Steelers in overtime in the Super Bowl. But that was fake and dumb, and that's why in this rubber match, I've got Pittsburgh by a whisker, 20-19. Hench, how say you?
Well, it's funny, Spaghetti and I know who the luckiest team in the NFL is, and I know you will never agree with this, but it's like the difference would have been if the Steelers didn't need Lawrence McCutcheon and his backup running back, whoever that was, not Jim Bertelsen, not Cullen Bryant, to be hurt in order to beat the Rams in the Super Bowl back in the Steel Curtain days. But
Wendell Tyler.
Of course, Kyron Williams is hurt. Of course, Rivers is hurt. Of course, the Rams will have to be one-dimensional in the one dimension that TJ Watt and Alonzo Highsmith want you to have to be one-dimensional. And of course, everything works out for the Steelers as it always does, even though they're not very good. They win this game 23-19 against the banged-up one-dimensional Rams.
Oh, so gracious in your pick. Spaghetti, how say you?
I'm going 24-20 Rams here over the Steelers. I think it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a close game. This is the hardest one for me to pick by far here. But, the Rams are averaging 23 points per game, which is kind of a shock to us. No one really bought into the Rams in this offseason. The Steelers, on the other hand, are averaging 15.8 points per game. They only have 6 offensive touchdowns, which is the last in the league, tied with my Giants. So I think there's a big gap there. And, Hench mentioned it, the injury to Kyron Williams and to Rivers. So both running back 1 and running back 2 are out, which means it's going to be the Stafford show throwing to his litany of receivers here. And Kupp's back 2 straight games over 100 yards. I think the Steelers are a tough defense, a smart defense. They will do what it have to take to get him out of the game, which means Puka Nacua over 59.5 receiving yards, minus 117 there. I think it'll be the Puka show with Kupp kind of being forced out here with the Steelers' great defensive backs. But Rams still win the game 24-20.
For the record, I am obviously going to root for the Steelers, but I will delight in saying it over and over again. Puka Nakua! Hey, now it's time for my favorite part of the 15-minute pregame show. It's the 4-second halftime show. This week, featuring my 7-year-old daughter drinking pickle juice through a straw on purpose even. Weird kid. But hey, pickle makers of the world, great opportunity for an endorsement here. Think about it. Okay, on to Buffalo v. New England. It's the Bills v. Bill Belichick. The Hoodie's dark powers feel diminished this year, and Josh Allen is looking to show he's still strong with the force after barely surviving the Giants in week 6. I say it's the Bills relatively easily, 22-10. Hench, I'll say you.
I can't believe I'm doing this, given that most of my wins have been picking against the Patriots this year. But the Bills, as Spaghetti's Giants demonstrated last week, the Bills have a penchant to get one-dimensional. And last week against the Giants, that one dimension got one-dimensional. They were only throwing to Diggs. I mean, I don't have to tell Gabe Davis owners that the Bills were only throwing to Stephon Diggs. Now, I know the old man is in his aphasia phase of his decline, but if he can still do one thing, it's probably take away what the other team does best. And if you take away Diggs, the Bills are not going to cover that big number. So I say the Bills to win 24-17, Patriots plus 8.5 wins.
Spaghetti, how say you?
I'm going 26-14 Bills here over Patriots. It's weird to call this kind of like a rebound game for the Bills because they did win last week, but it didn't really feel like a win. Everyone kind of knows the Giants were robbed, but that's a different story here. There have been reports coming out about the Patriots too, about like they're not even restructuring contracts with the other guys they want to keep around because they want to actually tank. I feel like the tank on purpose is like slowly kind of happening. Maybe the one last hurrah with Bill getting his new quarterback here. So I just don't think they're going to be a lot of competitive in a lot of games this year. So I just like the Bills to win this one, and I'm going to go directly against Hench here. Stephon Diggs, besides a guy named Tyreek Hill, is probably the best receiver in the league this year. Over 83.5 receiving yards is minus 119. He's third in the league in reception yards with 620, and he's gone over 100 in 5 out of 6 games. He's been so consistent. I know teams want to stop him, but they just can't. And I'm just hoping this is not a game where Josh Allen kind of plays down to his competition.
Brady Lemieux's on the Pats up to 8.5. Next, it's Commies, it's Giants. It's a great NFC East classic. That's also the Anton Chigurh coin flip of the game around these parts. Tighter line than I expected. Told you in the preseason Washington was headed to the playoffs. I'm sticking with that. And here, I'm taking the Commies 20-16. Hench, how say you?
I'll get to that in one sec, but first, I feel like Brady Lemieux is actually on the Bills to cover if I'm looking at the aggregate score right, but that's just me. Because you both have them winning by 12, and I have the Pats losing by 7, 24-31. Yeah, Brady Lemieux has the Bills to win by 10.4.
All right,
okay.
like the late, great Jerry Orbach said at the end of Dirty Dancing, when I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong. Congratulations, Bills. Continue now.
So, obviously, the Giants would have won if Daniel Jones had played quarterback last week. I mean, I don't know if there's a way to send a play into the quarterback where there's no possibility of checking to a run, because that's obviously what you have to do. You have to go, oh, and by the way, obviously this doesn't need to be said to a guy who's been in the league for 13 years. Don't check to a run, right? So the Giants win that game if they score at the end of the first half. They win that game if the back judge calls any of the 11 fouls on Darren Waller at the end of the game. And this week against the team that's certainly hard to judge. The commies are so up and down. But I think this week that the odds, the bad luck, the bad calls level out. Giants 23-20.
Spaghetti, go.
I'm going 19-9 Commanders over the Giants. Look, the Giants still stink. Andrew Thomas is going to be out. John Michael Schmitz is going to be out. Daniel Jones has not been cleared to contact yet. Did not practice Wednesday, which is not great news. I do agree with Hench. If Daniel Jones was in that game, they would have won. I do feel like a lot of people are trying to overcorrect that and be like, if the Giants are going to go on a streak here, they have handled the Commanders pretty well in the past. but I just not seen enough on the offensive side yet. And I do feel like Brian Robinson touchdown plus 106. That's almost a lock. The Giants have got 9 rushing touchdowns this season. It's 3rd in the NFL. I don't feel great about this game with all the injuries still. So yeah, Commanders win and cover.
Well, see, you just turned that lemon into lemonade by saying you're taking Washington. Spaghetti, check of the clock here. Do we have time for Super Bowl 32?
We have a very minimal time. Quick, 1 sentence each.
Favre and Elway out, Love and Russ in. Sean Payton already on the ropes. He's going to need a standing A count after losing another one at home. Packers get it 31-24. Same score as Super Bowl 32. Hench, how say you?
Broncos averaged 3.2 yards per pass play last week. Is it the quarterback or is it the guy with the laminate? Because somebody's terrible.
Yes and yes.
Somebody in Denver is terrible. So maybe Sean Payton wants to point fingers in the mirror or at his quarterback. Packers 23-17.
Spaghetti, go quick.
24-21, Green Bay over Denver. Jordan Love over 232.5 passing yards, minus 119 on Caesars. Denver's given up the second most passing yards at 1,608, and the most touchdown passes in the NFL, that's 14. So bad defense, bad team. Green Bay wins.
Appreciate you watching the show, everybody. Leave us a comment in the YouTube section underneath there. Let us know your best plays of the weekend. Go back and listen to the 2 very fine episodes, a -3 from earlier this week. And with that, we'll talk to you before week 8. I hope your team wins, unless they're playing my team. It's been a thin slice of heaven.